Yeah, it's a very old principle from I can't remember if it's Confucius who said, when the plan's not working, don't adjust the goals, adjust the plan, you know? So you got to
Yeah.
create new actions, you got to create new ways to look at it. I have this strapline that, the business owner is the limit on the business. So, you're the lid on the expansion of your business. Very similar in what you're saying with the CEO being the limit of the expansion of the business. It's
Yes.
You could say, oh well, there's certain people and they're at that level and they're at that level and they're at that level, but that's not necessarily the end of the story. They could develop, they could expand, and certainly any skills can be learned. So, anything you have to say about that in your leadership journey?
Yeah, my new book is co-authored with one of my favorite customers, Michael Praeger. He was my very first customer
Mm,
25 years ago. Today, I'm still his coach. So I've walked with Michael through 25 years of his life. Actually, as
mm,
I say that, I now realize that I've actually coached him for almost half his life because he's in his early 50s. And so we decided to curate a lot of the lessons that he had, as well as lessons for the other CEOs that I've been coaching over the last 25 years. So he kind of co-authored this book with me. But what's very interesting about Michael that has made him very successful, I helped him conceptualized and start AvidXchange, took it from zero to being worth $1 billion, which is a unicorn. Then from there
mm.
to an IPO in 2021. Today, the company is, on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, and a couple of months ago, they announced that they're going to be taken private again at a valuation of 2.6 billion. So from zero to 2.6 billion, I think is a pretty good journey over 25 years. But with every one of these changes, Michael has to sit down and say, all right, what is needed for me? So when he got, funding, hefty funding at a unicorn stage, what is needed
Yes.
for me as the CEO of a company like that? How do I have to behave? How do I have to relate to my investors who are different, etc.? And then when he did his IPO, he had to learn a bunch of new skills. How do I do investor meetings? How do I do all that? And his time shifted too a lot to investors. And then today, he's preparing himself for the next stage of his game. The next stage of his game is, he's going to be taken private by private equity groups.
Right.
And so now he goes from being a public company CEO to being a private equity CEO. He's going to go back to having a boss, frankly, because when you are a CEO for a private equity funded company where they own majority share, you have a boss now. So it takes a change in mindset. It takes a thirst of learning, but it also takes a thirst of the new experience. So I think that some guys and gals, when I work with them, when they hit that certain stage, they go, "Man, I'm just sick and tired of this." Okay, they no longer thirst for the journey. And I think if
Mm,
you no longer thirst for the journey, the best thing you could do is to either revive that hunger and thirst or replace yourself happily, right? Replace
yes.
yourself happily in a way that you are successful, etc. So Michael has always been able, so far in his last 25 years of walking with me or me with him, he has been able to say, look, I can't think of anything else I'd like to do today than to run this company.
Mm,
Nothing better to do than this. And it's so much fun. But just like any game, he's an athlete. So he has the athlete's mindset of, all right,
yeah.
I'm going to play a new role. I have to learn a new skill and I have to practice that skill and dial it up 1,000 times till I get really, really good at it. So that's his mindset.